Hi, everybody. Brad Truax here again from Eastman's Woodlands and Wildlife Committee. And today we're going to do an update on mosquitoes. Mosquito season is upon us, and we expect that 2026 is going to be we're going to see a significant increase in mosquito activity. I'll talk about that in a minute. So again, while ticks may be the most dangerous insect that we deal with here at Eastman, certainly mosquitoes and black flies are probably the most annoying insects. And again, we're just getting through the traditional black fly season here in New Hampshire. That usually extends from Mother's Day to Father's Day. So that period is now nearing its end. And as the black fly season draws to a close, we need to turn our focus to the mosquito. The mosquito season tends to be present anytime there's still or standing water hanging around. And though this spring has not had the torrential rains we had in May of 2025, we still certainly have lots of standing water around. And mosquito season may be getting longer due to rising global temperatures. But of particular concern this year is that it's anticipated there's going to be a super El Nino. And that super El Nino is likely to bring warmer, more humid summers with more rain to the Northeast. So we can expect there are probably going to be more mosquitoes this year. So again, even though we said that mosquitoes are less dangerous here than the ticks are, they actually are the world's deadliest animal. Mosquito-borne diseases kill more than 700,000 people worldwide on an annual basis. And mosquitoes not only cause annoying bites, but they carry pathogens like bacteria, viruses, and parasites. And they can transmit diseases like yellow fever, dengue fever, malaria, tularemia, West Nile virus, chikungunya virus, Zika virus, and Eastern equine encephalitis. And in New England, in the last few years, we've had increasing reports of both West Nile virus and Eastern equine encephalitis. And those are two of the most serious and potentially fatal mosquito-borne diseases. So again, unlike black flies, which propagate in running water, mosquitoes breed in still or standing water. So again, the females of the mosquito really require blood for their eggs to develop. So that's why they bite us or other mammals. And the eggs of the mosquitoes are laid in stagnant water, and that provides the mosquito larvae with bacteria and microorganisms that they need for food. So still stagnant water could be a pond, a marsh, a temporary puddle, a water-filled hole in a tree, and even water trapping leaves. And many items you have on your property can also serve as breeding sites for mosquitoes. Actually, only a few ounces of water are needed for the eggs to be able to hatch. So even the smallest areas of standing water are important. So there's certain things that also attract mosquitoes: time of day, smell or odors, and colors. Okay, time matters. Mosquitoes are crepuscular. They're most active at dusk and dawn, and they tend to rest in a cool place during the heat of the day. So again, if you understand this time frame, that can help you avoid being exposed to mosquitoes. And smell matters. That's extremely important for mosquitoes. The female mosquitoes hunt for hosts by smelling substances like carbon dioxide. And they also combine that with some visual recognition. And they can smell carbon dioxide plumes that we exhale from about 200 feet away. Note it's important that alcohol and spicy foods will increase your own CO2 production. And it's important that all the odor receptors that are detected by the mosquito, many are chemicals that are found in our own perspiration. And there was a study that was published a couple of years ago that talked about soaps. Some soaps attract mosquitoes while other soaps repel them. So again, soaps that have floral scents are most likely to make you attractive to mosquitoes. On the other hand, soaps that have coconut scents tend to repel mosquitoes. So I actually take coconut soap along with me when we visit our cabin in northern Ontario to help repel some of those mosquitoes. Color matters too. There was an experiment that was done that showed that mosquitoes ignored a colored dot if it was green, blue, or purple. On the other hand, if the dot was red, orange, black, or cyan, mosquitoes would fly toward it. So, is there really such a thing as a mosquito magnet? Well, an experiment was actually done that confirmed there is such a thing as a mosquito magnet. They put a whole bunch of people in an arena and put them in one of 8 tents that were connected via air ducts, etc. And they basically found that mosquitoes were 4 times more likely to land on a disc that was associated with the subject who attracted the most mosquitoes compared to the subject who attracted the least. So that pretty much confirmed that, yes, some people are much more likely mosquito magnets than other people. And they looked at the substances that might have been there. The same airborne compounds were present basically in the odors of all the subjects, but it was the concentrations of the various chemicals that differed. And one of those was carboxylic acids, that especially attracted the mosquitoes, and acetylene, which is produced by some of the microbes that might be on your skin, also tended to attract them. So again, there are various factors that people have that may make them more attractive to mosquitoes. So what can you do? First of all, you want to reduce or eliminate any standing water that's on your property. So fill in any ditches or low-lying areas that are on or near your property. And again, amazingly, mosquitoes only need a few ounces of water for their eggs to attach. So you need to look for some smaller sources of standing water on your property. This might be things in vases, buckets, bird baths, depressions on the top of rocks, toys like kids' pails, pet bowls, wheelbarrows, kayaks, or canoes that might have some water in them. Old tires that might be sitting around can capture water, and things like gutters or corrugated drain pipe extensions. So, a whole host of areas that can have small amounts of water where a female mosquito could still lay her eggs. So again, if you find mosquitoes breeding in your trash cans or your trash compactors, you can drill holes in the bottom to let the water drain out into the dirt. Okay, what else can you do? Again, once a week, you should empty and scrub, turn over and cover or throw out any items that hold water. And that would be some of the things we just talked about, like tires, buckets, toys, planters, pet bowls, flower pots, rain barrels, and any other containers that might contain water, because those are places where the mosquitoes can lay their eggs. You should empty and wash your bird baths and wading pools at least weekly. Clean and chlorinate any swimming pools and drain any water that might be collecting on the top of pool covers. And if you do have a garden pond, you might stock it with fish that eat mosquitoes or mosquito eggs or larvae. And those might be mosquito fish, goldfish, or koi. And some even recommend putting small fish like guppies in small collections of water that you can't otherwise eliminate. And if you can't remove the standing water, you might try dropping a larvicide like mosquito dunks in that water. More on mosquito dunks in a minute. So again, have you ever heard of the mosquito bucket? Does it really work? Well, I mentioned before mosquito dunks. These are tablets that contain a bacteria that's toxic only to mosquito larvae. It doesn't affect the larvae of other insects. So a mosquito bucket basically is a diversion that attracts mosquitoes to lay their eggs in what looks like an attractive site for them, but is actually a deadly spot for the larvae. So get yourself a 5-gallon bucket, fill it about halfway with water, add some grass, leaves, and other organic matter, and then toss in one of these mosquito dunks. Well, as the grass and the leaves rot in the water, they produce carbon dioxide, and that's released and it attracts the female mosquitoes that are ready to lay their eggs. So again, put this mosquito bucket in areas near where you spend a lot of time outdoors. And about every 30 days, you might add a new mosquito dunk and add some fresh grass and leaves to your bucket. So does it work? Or is it hype? Well, many people swear by it. It certainly might be worth a try if you have a serious mosquito problem. Okay, so what else can you do? Well, first of all, restrict your outdoor activities at dusk and dawn when the mosquitoes are most active, and use insect repellents that contain DEET, picaridin, or permethrin. Wear mosquito netting and loose clothes, long pants, and long sleeves. Wear colors like green, blue, and purple rather than red, orange, black, or cyan. And if you're using soaps, make sure you use coconut scented soaps and avoid floral scented soaps. And the jury's still out on mechanical devices that produce sound or various light waves. Might add a bat house. Bats can eat up to 50% of their weight in insects every day, and mosquitoes are one of their favorite insect foods. Actually, bats that are females who have pups can actually eat even more insects. And certain native plants will attract dragonflies and damselflies, which then eat mosquitoes. And some of those native plants are black-eyed Susans, Joe Pye weed, or swamp milkweed. And again, of course, commercial spraying for ticks and mosquitoes is very important. I have my property sprayed probably 5 or 6 times a year with spray against both ticks and mosquitoes. So, in protecting yourself, wear a bug shirt or a bee bonnet, but these should fit loosely because the mosquitoes can bite right through the netting. And you want to wear clothes that cover all the other areas of your skin. In terms of mosquito repellents, you want to look for things that have active ingredients that are recommended by the CDC. DEET is probably the most important. And here are some of the, in parentheses, some of the commercial products that contain DEET. IR 3535 is another one. Oil of lemon eucalyptus, or OLE, is sometimes recommended, but should not be used on children under the age of 3. And picaridin is also effective. And permethrin, which you'll recall we use to avoid tick bites, is also very effective against mosquitoes. The EPA website has a good tool to help you search for which repellent is best for your own situation. So permethrin is very effective against mosquitoes as well as ticks. And you put permethrin on your clothing and your shoes when you're likely to be exposed to mosquitoes, or you wear permethrin treated clothing. And caution, there is some data that shows if you use too much permethrin, there may be some potential medical consequences. But usually the amount of permethrin that we would be using during a season is not dangerous. The CDC recommends using only 0.5% permethrin to treat your clothing and your gear. And you should read the product label to find out how long the protection on permethrin treated items is going to last. And permethrin is only to be used on clothing. Don't use permethrin directly on your skin. In terms of, there's something called spatial emanators, also known as spatial repellents. These emit small quantities of an active ingredient like transflutrin, which has the effect of repelling and disoriented and killing the mosquitoes. And these have been studied most often in areas where malaria is prevalent. And they've been shown to reduce malaria infections by about 30%. So some of these products are marketed with the claim that they can produce a bubble of protection if you're out on your patio or outside eating. And some of those brands are Thermacell, Mosquito Shield, or Guardian. And note also that simply using a fan, for instance, on your patio, may also help keep some mosquitoes away. So what about your pets? Well, yes, mosquitoes can also bite your pets, and those pets can bring mosquitoes into your house. So you can use permethrin on dogs, but it's very toxic to cats and should not be used on cats. You need to read the product label very carefully to see how and how often you could use permethrin on your dog. And you should not use products containing DEET on any of your pets. And be careful spraying those products on things that a pet might lick because DEET is dangerous to your pets. So what else can you do? Again, the CDC has a good website on multiple recommendations on controlling mosquitoes around your home. Most of them we've already talked about, but if you want to read about them in detail, go to that website. So mosquito bites, itching from mosquito bites is usually pretty much self-limited. Usually you don't have to do any sort of treatment. You might wash the area with some soap and water and apply some ice. That might help a little bit. And over-the-counter topical anti-itch creams can be useful for relieving the itching. And some antihistamines come in spray form, like Benadryl spray. I find that particularly effective. Aloe vera gel can also help. And for more severe itching, hydrocortisone cream is an option, but that's usually not necessary and certainly should not be used on a long-term basis. And certain home remedies have often been mentioned, things like honey and oatmeal. But quite frankly, it sounds to me like those are better for breakfast than for treating mosquito bites. So mosquitoes and diseases, we noted before that the mosquito is actually the world's deadliest animal. Let that sink in for a minute. It causes more than 700,000 deaths on a worldwide basis every year. And it can transmit diseases like yellow fever, dengue fever, malaria, tularemia, West Nile virus, chikungunya virus, Zika virus, and Eastern equine encephalitis. And we've not seen most of those diseases in New Hampshire recently, but they have occurred in some other states. But here in New England, over the last couple years, we've had increasing reports of two of the most serious and potentially fatal mosquito-borne diseases. And those would be West Nile virus and Eastern equine encephalitis. So West Nile disease is caused by West Nile virus. The symptoms are headache, fever, body aches, joint pains, vomiting, diarrhea, rashes, fatigue, muscle weakness, confusion, and even meningitis and encephalitis. And older people are particularly vulnerable to more severe disease. Dr. Anthony Fauci, who you all recognize as the head of NIH for many years, almost died from West Nile disease in 2024. And 1 in 10 people who develop severe West Nile disease may actually die. And recovery can be prolonged. And there's no specific treatment. Management is mainly supportive, things like fluids, pain medications, and nursing care. And dead corvids, crows, ravens, and blue jays may be the first sign that West Nile virus is in the environment. So if you find a dead crow or a dead blue jay, you may want to notify the health authorities that so it can be tested for West Nile virus. The other serious disease is Eastern equine encephalitis, so-called triple E. It's caused by a mosquito-borne virus, and although it's rare, it's very serious. Approximately a third of the people who develop severe Eastern equine encephalitis actually die, and many survivors still have ongoing neurological problems. So the triple E virus circulates in the environment between mosquitoes and birds that are typically found in freshwater hardwood swamps. And the cases typically peak in August and September. So they tend to occur later than some of the other mosquito-borne diseases. And as the name implies, horses are also often affected. So the symptoms are fever, headache, vomiting, diarrhea, seizures, behavioral changes, and drowsiness. And there's no specific treatment for Eastern equine encephalitis. Cases did increase in New England in 2024, perhaps due to climate change. And that actually led to some communities closing parks and spraying for mosquitoes. So again, there's some potential novel treatments being considered to prevent mosquito infestations. Could a fungus be the answer? Well, it turns out that there is a parasitic fungus that's harmless to humans that does produce a compound that can be serious damage to mosquitoes. And I don't want to bore you with the details, but researchers have genetically engineered this fungus to produce this substance in huge amounts around the clock. And there is a patent pending trap that emits only mosquitoes and not other beneficial insects. And it really was able to kill about half the mosquitoes that were released into a room. So again, this is an area of research that's very interesting. Another area of research, there's a substance called juvenile hormone that basically is the signal that tells the female mosquitoes when to start producing their eggs. And there's a protein that's either inside the cell or on the cell membrane that's important in interacting with this hormone. So scientists have been focusing on that protein to see if they can find a way to modify it and actually interfere with mosquito reproduction. So do mosquitoes do anything good? Well, we've talked about all the bad things that they can do. Do they do anything good? Well, they probably do. They are pollinators. Obviously, probably not as important pollinators as things like bees and other insects, but they are pollinators. And most importantly, they're a key part of the food chain. Bats, dragonflies, spiders, fish, amphibians, and many birds actually depend on mosquitoes as a source of food. And the denizens in our vernal pools also feed on mosquito larvae. So again, they probably do have some positive role in our ecosystem. So maybe complete elimination of mosquitoes may not be such a great idea. So again, get ready. Mosquito season is upon us. Know what to do to minimize the chances that you're going to bit by the mosquitoes, and keep your eyes open.